Okay, thank you. Now I give the floor to Alexia, President of EPCO, the European Bureau for Conscientious Objection.
Thank you very much for the invitation in this very interesting webinar. We really appreciate your time and all the stories shared so far. I will speak about Ukraine, but just to add and to confirm what Daniil and Vladimir said before, that we also have a case in Greece. Actually, I'm based in Athens. We also have a case of a Russian conscientious objector, Christian, who refused to serve now during the war because he doesn't want to go to kill anyone, of course, in Ukraine. And we support him for the asylum application in Greece, in Athens. And actually, he had just recently, he has received the decision in the first degree. And although the committee of the asylum committee accepted his acknowledged that he is indeed a genuine conscientious objector, that he acknowledged that there is a mobilization, they rejected his application with the argumentation that he has not received himself personally a call-up paper at his house until he left, before he left at least Russia. So, of course, we appeal against the decision. We support the organization and the lawyer, and we still think that we need to raise our voices and please also we need to cooperate in a European level and even more for cases like Vladimir, Daniil, and this Alexander case in Athens. I'm very open in collaboration, and EPCO would also like to support all the pending cases of Russian objectors. And I take now this opportunity. I will just share a bit my screen just to show you a couple of websites that we are running relevant campaigns in cooperation with Connection EV from Germany, the International Fellowship of Reconciliation, and the War Resisters International. This is the Object War campaign that we collect signatures for the protection and asylum of conscientious objectors and deserters to military service. It's still open for signatures here. And actually, we also have an action of a week of action now. December, you can see a dedicated website where we have collected all the planned actions in all the different cities in Europe and beyond. So please feel free to share. And this is the website of the European Bureau for Conscientious Objection. You can see here information, what is EPCO and what are different kind of news we publish. What I want to highlight here is our annual report on conscientious objection to military service in Europe, because actually EPCO was established in 1979 as an umbrella organization of national associations of conscientious objectors in order to promote the right to conscientious objection to military service, and of course in period of mobilization or war where it's even more critical and more important, and to fight for the release of all imprisoned and prosecuted conscientious objectors. So with the editorial team headed by Derek Brett, we publish every year for all the Council of Europe member states the situation, and I will focus now in Ukraine. So in Ukraine, this was the situation until recently. This is the previous annual report. What is the status? The status is that originally, the first time that the conscientious objection as a right was recognized was back in 1991, but it was suspended. The conscription was suspended in 2012, but it was reintroduced in 2014. Now there is no, of course, due to the mobilization after the Russian invasion, in the full-scale Russian invasion in Ukraine, there is no such a service, military and civilian service, where 12 months and 18 months before for those of a master's degree, and it was for all the rest 18 and 27 months long. But now, unfortunately, all these provisions have been suspended because of the mobilization. Even before 2022, the conscientious objection to military service was insufficiently protected anyway. And now, of course, you can understand that conscientious objectors are targeted, are considered as traitors, are forcibly conscripted in a lot of cases. We have cases that they are detained, persecuted for their refusal to take arms, and they suffer for social stigmatization, and they are blocked as well. They cannot leave the country, and they cannot usually access the civilian service. Now there is also a kind of confusion, and also there is a big corruption in Ukraine, so things are not always very clear. We have some examples. You can also read in our annual report that there are some people that manage finally to evade the army or to leave the country with bribing and these kind of things. But the general rule is that all the men up to 60 years old, all the males, they are obliged to go for military mobilization, and the women, that they are professionals in medicine or pharmacy, aged more than 16 years old. So what's actually happening is that people are afraid that a lot of people, like in Russia, there are a lot of young people and the older people who don't want to fight, and they want to escape this mobilization and the forced registration. And the army and the military system has pushed this in different kind of ways. For example, they have introduced proofs even in the civilian life, you know, like they ask you military identity in order even to register your place of residence or to have access to education, employment, even to get married. You need to have military ID, military papers to show for social security benefits and everything. So there is an increasing pressure, and there are also cases, unfortunately, that they have been in jail. I will just focus on 3 cases that they are still pending in Ukraine, and that we have also supported as EPCO, and also in cooperation with other organizations. First of all, it was the case of Vitaly Alexenko, a Protestant Christian conscientious objector. He was himself an internally displaced person. He was sentenced to 1 year of imprisonment because he refused to go to the army during this war, and he got imprisoned. We managed to visit him in the prison during one of my missions in Ukraine, and we delivered him a lot of messages of solidarity, of course, from different countries, including Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Netherlands, Turkey, Ukraine, of course. And our Vice President, Sam Business, also participated in a public hearing at the European Parliament and called for his immediately and unconditional release. There was also an MEP, Dietmar Koster, who expressed support of this call. And finally, he was released, because we need also to say the good news of what we are doing. So in May, the Supreme Court overturned his conviction, and he was immediately released from prison, following the efforts of the Ukrainian pacifist movement and Yuri personally, who is supporting and also as a lawyer, all these cases. And now the court has ordered his retrial. So we're waiting what will happen there. From day to day, we're waiting the decision on this. His lawyer is not very pessimistic, is not very optimistic now, but we are waiting to see what they will say. The request for webcast was deemed as irrelevant, which is a bad sign, but we will see. Another case is Andriy Visnesvetsky. This guy is a pacifist, a Christian as well. He's blocked now. He's held at the front line unit of the armed forces in Ukraine, despite he has clearly declared the conscientious objection and asked his discharge. They don't allow him, of course, to be discharged, and he has even submitted, with the help of URI, a lawsuit asking the Supreme Court to order President Zelensky to establish the procedure of discharge from military service on the grounds of conscience. But this lawsuit was not accepted. The Supreme Court refused it on September, and even his commander didn't allow him to be present before the court to appear. So we are now waiting for a second decree, like the Grand Chamber of the Supreme Court. We're waiting now to see 21st of December, the final judgment, because of the appeal of the Ukrainian pacifist movement against this judgment. And finally, Yuri Selezhenko himself, who is the executive secretary of the Ukrainian pacifist movement, he was himself subjected to an illegal search of his apartment, and he was put under criminal investigation in August this year. His computer was seized, his smartphone, and he has been under a night house arrest since 15th of August, which has already been prolonged twice, first until 30th of November and now until 31st of December. And he is charged even for justifying the Russian aggression based on a statement that the Ukrainian pacifist movement published on the International Peace Day of 2022. The statement was entitled Peace Agenda for Ukraine and the World. It was adopted by the Ukrainian pacifist movement, and actually, literally, the statement supports the condemnation of Russian aggression, as it was also done by the UN General Assembly. So we are also following this case, and recently the Solomiansky court satisfied his request to recognize the illegality of inaction of the security service of Ukraine. They have done a lot of irregular things. His computer and smartphone was returned to them, was ordered to be returned to them, but they have not complied yet with this order. So this is more or less the situation in Ukraine now. And I would, if I have some more minutes, I would like to share some photos so that you can see actually the militarism, like Ludo said in the beginning, the war is increasing militarism in everyday life, and the military propaganda both in Russia but also in Ukraine is increasing. And let me share just to show you some photos of my latest visit, and you will understand here. Even for this photo, we were stopped. This is a photo in the metro, one of the metro stations in Kiev, this August. And even for this photo, we were stopped and interrogated by the security forces, which is, just doves, the symbol of peace. So there is a lot of oppression, there is a lot of military propaganda, and a lot of huge panels, like advertisements in all the public spaces, a lot of military everything, military materials, t-shirts with guns. You can see here even young boys are put on posters, and the army is considered, a hero. The situation is like this in the capital and in the cities. You can see the touristic spots are full of military symbols and flags and everything. Dead people because of the war. There are monuments everywhere in their honor. Big posters for the defenders of the occupied places. Even children's shops, like here you can see they are dressed everything in military uniforms, even if in shops that they sell toys for the children. There are military games also on the streets, in the squares, in the public spaces. Here's a photo in Lviv that they are playing with guns, even young children, and trying to shoot Putin and everything. They are playing music, they are fundraising for the army. They have graffitis everywhere with tanks and soldiers and fires, shelters everywhere for the population. This is in the train station, photos of the bombed areas, and even in the metro station, you can see everywhere posters for the army, encouraging people to register like this. Again, posters, huge posters in the city, and messages of Jesus Christ for glory of Ukraine, monuments on this is Kiev, the capital, the main square, with also things from the military barracks and installations underground on the places. And here, one of the most tragic examples that they are bringing bombed tanks, Russian tanks destroyed, and they make an exhibition in the center of the cities, in squares, or you see barracks like this, real military vehicles and posters. This was a very good exemption that actually was the original one, the classic one, bring them home alive, stop the war now. This was the only thing I found, and I imagine when I stopped to take a photo of this, again, someone came and stopped me and were asking me why I take this photo and who am I, and these kind of things. So this is the situation more or less in Ukraine, and even in the museums. They have now added new sections with war, promoting the continuation of the military operations. And you can see here, even inside the tram, this is just a tram in the center of the city, they have installed screens showing spots, video clips of the army, like this. So I'm stopped sharing now, and I finished. I concluded with Ukraine. What else I would like just for 1 minute to share is for some other some other countries, very briefly. So for Russia, there is also this appeal that speaks not only for the asylum but also for the visa issues. So people are really don't have any option now to leave, because European Commission also doesn't facilitate the issue of visa. So apart from asylum, our Russian friends, they're also insisting on facilitating the ways to leave Russia. Then for Olga Karatz, we are running this protection for Olga. She's also targeted personally, herself and her family. So she's a very well-known human rights activist and peace builder. And we ask for her asylum, of course, to be granted, and not to have any risk in going back to Belarus. Thank you, Olga, for sharing also your story here with us. And I'm closing with some other countries relevant to this, because we want to show the European dimension as well. Conscientious objectors are also targeted in Finland, for example. You can see it's getting worse there also. We had Mitya, who was 1980 days under house arrest. We organized solidarity actions for him in cooperation with Amnesty International. We still have problem in Northern Cyprus and in Turkey. People refuse to enlist, and we have cases like this that they're still pending before the European Court of Human Rights. And last, for Greece, we had a very good decision, which is still not implemented, by the UN Human Rights Committee for the case of Lazaros Petromelidis, who has been 5 times convicted, 4 times in prison, 2 times paid financial penalties. He won the case, but the Greek state doesn't conform with the decision. So thank you so much for your patience. I hope I didn't take more time than I should. And I'm here to open for questions if you want on chat or later.
Thank you very much, Alexia. I see some people applauding. There are also two questions, and I see that our member of parliament, Els van Hove, is still not in our Zoom. So I will ask you the questions, Alexia. I hope you can take them. So the first question is, can people in the countries Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, do you have any knowledge that they can do unarmed service in the army, so without weapons?
As far as I know, we have no case actually in our knowledge, but I cannot guarantee for this 100% because I just don't know any case that has come to us to ask for help. Maybe it's still existing, but I'm not really the right person to reply, so I don't want to risk saying something wrong. I guess our friends from Russia will know better for Russia, and I can come back after consulting with the Ukrainian pacifist movement for Ukraine.
По поводу возможности альтернативной службы?
Yes,
Нет, да, возможно, оно и записано в законе, возможность, но на практике никто не будет разбираться. Если ты попал в систему, пришел в военкомат или тебя поймали, никого не будет интересовать, хочешь ты или не хочешь. Тебя насильно возьмут, вооружат и отправят. Также известны уже случаи, я думаю, это практика достаточно повсеместная, использование заградотрядов, когда кого-то привезли, кто не особо хочет их, вперед, а за ними стоят те, кто следят, чтобы они не отходили. Там уже не до службы без оружия. Попал в систему военную, и все, ты уже не человек.
Yes, Olga?
In Belarus, we have legislation about alternative service, but it's very limited and it doesn't work at all. So usually people cannot use legislation to avoid the participation in the army.
Thank you. Then there was a second question. Does anyone have figures about how many people refuse to go into the army? Is there any registration of that? Does anybody of you three know about figures?
At beginning of the war, we counted about 20,000 Belarusians, but they moved to Georgia, to Turkey, to the countries without visas. But I know that many young men without any support had to return back, and because they cannot survive in the countries. Yes. Now I don't know exactly. I know that 5,000 young Belarusians are searched by police officially.
I can share the statistics for Ukraine. Actually, you can find them in the EPCO annual report, which I will also send here in the chat. Like I was asked also to share the petitions, the campaigns. So in Ukraine, for the previous year, there was a big increase of people who were actually caught on the borders trying to live illegally, irregularly, the country. So in 2021, before the war, it was 2,159. In 2022, 5,707 people attempted to cross the border irregularly to live. And also in the checkpoints, 11,000 And 4,000 invaders additionally were stopped at the border checkpoints trying to leave Ukraine with forged documents or in other illegal way. All these are men. And the trafficking also sentences and the trafficking cases were increased because traffickers are taking money to make these people go. So there were 120 sentenced cases for trafficking during the year 2022. If you compare with half of them, 60 only in 2021. So this big increase is obviously because of the war. There are also numbers like this in the annual report of EBCO for Russia. There are also statistics by the Russian Conscientious Objection movement, where you can also find. I can share the whole annual report. I also already shared the website, but I will share now directly the link for the report.
Okay, thank you. I see some writes that there are 19,840 people in Russian prison. So it's almost 20,000 people in prison. But that is for anti-war activities. Yeah, it's not only objection. I don't know, Daniel, do you have any idea how many people in Russia?
I can add...
Я только слышал статистику, сколько уехало из России за год, разные цифры. В общем, людей с начала войны, а еще больше после начала мобилизации. 800 тысяч, миллион, 2. Я разные видел, я не знаю, какие цифрам верить. Но сколько людей, ну, так как основная волна была после начала мобилизации, ну, все от нее и уехали, опасаясь. Я так думаю. К сожалению, я вот недавно видел статистику, видел цифры, что около 40% вернулось уже обратно из тех, кто уезжали. Потому что люди уезжали, многие сталкивались с невозможностью остаться, с тем, что им не предоставляли убежище, либо им просто не было возможности жить не на что, не знаю, по каким соображениям. В общем, большой процент возвращается, видимо, обратно, потому что они не могут себе найти место, их никто не принимает. Вот в чате информацию пишут. Да. Всего вам большое.
This was exactly after 21st of September previous year when Putin announced the start of the Russian so-called partial mobilization. So 200,000 Russians left the country immediately this week after the declare of the mobilization. This is also information in the annual report of EBCO.
Да, и большинство этих людей, как я понимаю, они осели, остались, смогли остаться, так как у них нет документов, они вот в приграничных государствах, в бывших странах Советского Союза, в Казахстане, Узбекистане, там, где не могут находиться. Потихоньку, у кого есть возможность, уезжают в другие страны. Я знаю, в Германии очень мало из России, по крайней мере, вот по беженству, по азилу, я видел официальную статистику от организации, которая занимается государственной. Около 6 тысяч человек с начала войны всего подали на беженство из России. И из них процент положительный, около 8% положительных ответов. То есть один из самых низких, сводная таблица, они публикуют, сколько людей из каких стран и подают, да, БАМФ, и сколько позитивных ответов получают. Люди из России вот, с начала войны около 6 тысяч и 8% положительных ответов. Германия.
Okay, thank you very much. We are happy that Mrs. Els van Hoof has joined us. So if everybody's ready, we can immediately give her the floor. Of course, she missed everything we've said before, but Els will talk us in a little bit on the Belgian position and what is happening in the parliament. So, Els, if you can take the floor, please. We don't hear you. I guess there is a problem with the sounds. Can now we see you, but we don't hear you. I don't know if you can check the microphone settings.
Maybe we can take the last question of Esther in the meantime.
Okay. The question that was put in the chat is, how do you explain the strong reluctance of European countries to grant asylum to objectors, to people of consensus objection? You know, Alexia, perhaps you can answer?
I could say that this is in general, I think it's connected to the reluctance of European countries to grant asylum in general for any reason. But I mean, we don't see very good statistics anyway in other asylum applicants from other countries. But I think even more for the conscientious objection, they are afraid for this right, because this has to do, it's not just simply, a war situation like Syria or like Palestine. It has a strong political view and political argumentation that I refuse the army because it's a war. A war is a crime against humanity and everything. So they're afraid of this, not to become too visible, too popular, not the Europeans to do the same, not people to be encouraged to do this, because it has to do with all the system of military and the power in the society.
Okay. Else, maybe we have to try it again. Oh yeah, she just left. I think she left to join. I hope. Let's wait a few seconds. Yes. There she comes again. Okay. Yes, we can hear you, I think.
Ja, nu heb ik geen camera, ik ben met mijn gsm aan het proberen. Het is ook heel raar.
It's better than nothing.
Ja, het is geen toegang tot de camera.
We have a guest without camera then, guest speaker.
Ja, dat is...
We just saw you, so people have an image.
Yes. Maybe I can put on my...
Yes, maybe the other
to
device.
see. Yeah, I will try.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Yeah.
Oei.
Now we have echo.
Ja,
Je moet de computer weer muten.
ja,
Dan heb je dat toch blijkbaar gelet.
ja, maar het doet zelfs zo. Je ziet met mijn instellingen.
Maybe
Ja.
if you speak now.
Ja, ik ga het zo moeten doen
Ja.
dan anders. I'm
Ja.
very, very sorry. Don't understand why it's not working. Normally it works. So I'm in the plenary now, which is still continuing. So we'll have a late evening session today. That's why I'm not really installed, because I'm not in my office. So I left the plenary meeting to do the statement you kindly asked me, because I think it's an important subject, which you put here on the agenda. We never heard before really about it in our committee, but I think it's a good idea that you try to give these testimonials in both Russia and Belarus. Also thankful for the guests you had, their courage of countering the policies of hate and violence pursued by also the Russian and Belarusian regimes. So I understand that the two of them have no scrutiny at all to send thousands of people to war as cannon feed. The lives of their very own population are secondary to the gains of a so-called heroic war. And I think it's important that the testimonials confirm this once again. And it's clear that the right to conscience objection should be respected by Russia and Belarus, which is not the case. So I think it's an act of exceptional courage and also testament to their unwavering commitment to peace. And it's important that people give testimonies on this subject. So I think it's a very good subject. We weren't really tackling the problem. But we are, of course, discussing a lot in Parliament. We have already adopted numerous resolutions regarding the human rights violations of the Russian and Belarusian regimes after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We adopted a resolution strongly condemning, of course, this aggression and calling also for sanctions against the regime. And you heard today that now finally the diamonds will be also in the sanction regime. So there still is evolution. So the resolution, however, also included the condemnation of the repression against Russian civil society groups that protests Putin's aggressive war. 2 weeks ago, our parliament adopted also a resolution condemning the authoritarian regime of Belarus. So we don't forget about that. And this resolution also clearly demands the immediate release of all political prisoners and every person that is detained, arrested, or convicted for political reasons. And the resolution, moreover, demands also the Belgian government to speak out against the political trials in Belarus and to support human rights activists and civil society in Belarus. With regard to the war in Ukraine, it also says to provide much support as possible to Belarusian citizens, which put themselves at risk by openly denouncing Russia's war or by having performed acts of sabotage to prevent the deployment of Russian troops on Belarusian territory. With regard to the asylum applications from Russia, Belgium is also experiencing the impact of the war in Ukraine, of course. And after another mobilization in Russia at the end of September, asylum applications rose from 68 people in September 22 to 95. And when we are talking about 23, we had only received 783 asylum applications by Russians. Unfortunately, it's not possible to detect from these statistics the reasons for these applications. In Belgium, asylum applications are always dealt with individually by the Office of the Commissioner General for Refugees and Stateless Persons. And this office will deal with each application in an objective way and will grant the refugee status when a person meets the internationally recognized criteria for refugee status, as it was set out also, of course, in the UN Refugee Convention. As such, a Russian or Belarusian conscientious objector can be granted asylum in Belgium. I agree with you that it's important that we remain vigilant to ensure that there are no obstacles that hinder the exercise of this right to apply for asylum. And it's important to hear from you what we can do more at this moment. So to conclude, thank you for having me. I don't have the solution for every case immediately, but I talked also with our responsible Secretary of State to put it on the agenda. And I will have also a question about it in the near future to see, of course, how the different cases have been handled and how many cases are there for the subject of conscience objector. So it would be important to see that also, and so that we can also take action if necessary. So thank you very much to stress this important element, and I will hear from you what we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much to be with us while you are in a plenary session. So there is a question from Wolfgang about consensus objectors from Ukraine, but I guess people from Ukraine get already subsidiary protection in Belgium.
Yes.
So they wouldn't apply for asylum at this moment. So that's probably an answer to that question.
Yes.
Alexia, you have a question?
Thank you very much for being with us even during this difficult hour. Thank you so much for the support. And please don't forget also the Ukrainian consensus objectors, because they are in an even more difficult situation. They also want to try to end the war with the negotiations and peace-building approaches and diplomacy. And they are targeted exactly because they're pacifists. So we need to support also the Ukrainian pacifists, because they are prosecuted, they are getting imprisoned, and they are considered as traitors. They are stigmatized in their own country. Thank you.
I wasn't aware of the fact that they are also imprisoned at this moment. So it's important to hear that also. And do you know the numbers?
We have some cases in prison. There are not a lot of cases that we know. There are some that we have also visited them in the prison in Ukraine during our missions with EPCO, and others that we have supported in court, and we have testified and we have provided press releases and open letters. So it would be great if we could, because you are indeed interested and willing to help, we could also send you these cases. There are not so many, there are a few cases, but there are landmark cases, because there are, for example, the secretary of the Ukrainian pacifist movement. There are other Christian objectors who are basing their objection to faith So it's just a few cases that, not more than 10, that according to our knowledge, that we need indeed to support. Thank you again. Thank you once again.
Okay.
Okay, Sam Biesemans, you want to ask a question? We don't hear you, Sam. You are speaking, but we don't hear you.
Sam, you need to unmute your microphone. Sam Business is the EPCO vice president who is based in Brussels. He is a Belgian. He is based in Brussels, where is the base of our organization, the European Bureau for Conscientious Objection. And he has made a lot of interventions upon invitation of members of the European Parliament in Brussels. So please, Sam, can you unmute your microphone so that we can...
So I changed now. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
thanks.
Nice. So thank you to Els van der Hoof that you announced that you are ready to do something in the parliament, in the parliamentary committee. So if we can help you from the side of European Bureau for Conscientious Objection, please contact us that we can formulate, for example, help you to formulate a question to your colleague Nicole, who is now Secretary of State in charge of this thematic. Yeah, you can get my coordinates also via Pax Christi Vlaanders, or I can send it to you. So, we are available to find a solution, because it is good that we give a political signal to the government, to the authorities, because now, well, the letter to the individual civil servants to decide if they give this status of asylum, but it's larger than alone giving status of asylum. But there is also the protection, the humanitarian protection, which is different from the asylum policy, and the humanitarian protection is also more political. In that sense, maybe it can be possible to have a political position from the responsible minister, so that, for example, some of these Russian conscientious objectors could, via the Belgian embassies, ask for this, not for asylum, but for this humanitarian protection.
Okay, it would be useful that, of course, you can help me by formulating the question right, to have a specific answer also, because when you make it too general, the answer will be too general also. So when you want to know specific points or statements, you need to have a good question. So it would be helpful, of course, that you could formulate the questions you want to be answered by our Secretary of State.
Thank you very much. Guido, you have a question?
Yes, it's a question and a remark I already put in the chat, that according to what I found, I think it was a few weeks ago, figures, I don't know if they are trustworthy, but there was talk about 6,000, more than 6,000 Ukrainian people that cross the border to avoid military service. I don't know if this is true, but I've also maybe a question, because I remember that I read that there was like pressure from the Ukrainian government on certain countries in the European Union to send them back. So those who cross the border, to send those people back. So I don't know if there is more information on that, and if that happens, because this would mean that they don't grant, if they accept this question, that they don't can apply for asylum for conscientious objection.
I can imagine that there have been people which cross the border and even are in our country as conscientious objector. So, but I don't know about the measure or by the Ukrainian government to send them back. So I have as I said, it wasn't really discussed in our committee of foreign affairs. I don't know, maybe in other committees. I have to check. But it's an interesting question also to put on the agenda. So as I said, I will take the effort to hear more and to make our government also conscious about the problematic at this moment. So that's why this event is a good start to have the debate also in our parliament.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have time, else, for one more question?
Yes, I will take
Yes.
one more.
Okay.
Maybe I don't have the answer, but I will hear the question.
Yes.
That's also good. Yeah.
Corné?
Yeah, it was just in addition to also what Sam said. I think the pressure is growing on this group of from the Ukrainian government on conscientious objectors. So we see from the party of Zelensky that there are more people saying that people should be sent back to Ukraine, young men especially who fled to EU countries. And I think Poland has also already responded positively on that request. So considering this growing pressure, I think providing asylum to this group is becoming more important even than before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can imagine that this will become a political issue. It should become a political issue also in EU countries in the future, in the near future. I hope so.
It's not really a question, but it's it's I think a statement you make about the problem. So and that we have to put it on the agenda. So that's clear to have also a position on it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So of course you can still join us, else, but I would like to ask the rest of the audience if there are any questions for the other guest speakers, for Daniil or Vladimir or Olga or Alexia. This is the last chance. No, there will be more chances, of course, but I don't see any questions popping up. Corné, yes.
A question for Daniil and Vladimir. If they think that if EU countries would have a more positive stance towards providing asylum to Russian soldiers, that more soldiers would feel indeed encouraged to leave, maybe even the battlefield if they are deserting, or to leave the country if they don't like to support the war. If this could be an important factor also maybe in supporting the suppressed peace movement in Russia.
Daniil or Vladimir, could you answer or react?
Да. Я его не понял. Вы могли бы, пожалуйста, вкратце его поставить?
I was just wondering if they think that if there would be a more positive response from many more EU countries towards providing asylum to Russian conscientious objectors, but maybe also to deserters, that this would support that more soldiers or people in Russia, young men in Russia, feel supported by such a asylum, and that more people would decide to maybe to stop fighting, to desert, to flee from the battlefield maybe, or to flee the country, although it's so very difficult to do that, as you explained in your story.
Конечно. Если бы люди видели. Любая поддержка помогает людям. те, кто уезжают из России против режима Путина, против войны, то есть, да, все оставляют на последние, зачастую на последние деньги, просто уезжают в никуда. И, конечно, если была бы поддержка, и они знали, что где-то они могут какое-то время жить и могут надеяться, что им помогут, да, и готовы работать, и им не нужны пособия большинству. Просто дайте нам, пожалуйста, мы не хотим быть в этом режиме, мы не хотим участвовать в войне, мы не хотим помогать, мы хотим жить в нормальной стране, в другой, сами себя обеспечивать, быть в безопасности. Кто в одиночку, кто с семьями, с детьми. Я знаю много людей в Германии, общаюсь с другими россиянами, кто уехали. Абсолютно разные истории, но большинство из них уехало из достаточно уже в возрасте, обеспеченной какой-то жизнью, где они сами себя обеспечивали, жилье, это бизнес, неважно. Они просто все побросали и уехали в никуда, в неизвестность. Почему в Германию приехали? Большинство из них приехало, потому что, в частности, было выступление Шольца, который сказал: приезжайте, пожалуйста, мы вам поможем. Вот, очень многие люди потом писали: мы вот именно это увидели, и поэтому пробирались всеми путями в Германию. А потом, в основном это происходит, то есть многие уже год, полтора, у большинства нет вообще никаких ответов. То есть они приехали и ждут, находясь в общей системе, ответа. Да, хорошо, что есть возможность учить язык за счет, то есть вот как я, посещать курсы языковые, учить язык. Видимо, это то, как эта система работает очень долго и долго, дает возможность выучить язык, параллельно пойти, как в Германии называется, да, на учебу, на Ausbildung, сменить, то есть небольшой шанс, возможность легально остаться. Да. Так. То есть, если бы люди увидели, что им кто-то готов оказать минимальную поддержку и дать минимальную возможность на нормальную жизнь, я думаю, определенная часть тех, кто настроен негативно, и у них нет возможности уехать из России, они бы с удовольствием уехали, и тем самым уменьшив и финансовую, и общую поддержку всего происходящего в России, и меньше было бы как минимум военных, которых можно похватать и отправить, потому что они бы уехали физически из России. Как-то вот так. Да, и, в общем, надеемся, что все это, любая война рано или поздно закончится. Не знаю. Больше всего жаль людей, которые со всех сторон, в любой войне самые обычные люди, которые погибают. Рано или поздно все к чему-то придут, но людей, которые погибли, это уже не вернет. Также еще спасибо вот Ольге, рассказывала, очень было интересно. Я так вспомнил, в 2020 году, я помню, в августе сидел, это просто было как сидел кулаки, говорю: да чтобы у вас там было, и так было. Конечно, очень жаль, что Путин пришел на помощь и ничего не получилось. Вот. Поэтому все будет у вас, у всех будет все хорошо, надеюсь. Ну вот. Спасибо вам всем за возможность и вас послушать, и что-то сказать. Были очень интересные 1,5 часа. Зовите еще. Все. Спасибо. Thank you very much. Dankeschön für Ihre Zeit.
Thank you. Спасибо большое. Is there any more question? Maybe the last one, because our interpreter is also getting tired, I think. So if anyone has a... Yes, Olga?
I would like to say thank you very much for this workshop, and by my opinion, it's very useful, especially that we listen many voices from Russia, Belarus, my voice, and we need a public tribune, and we need to speak about our problems and about challenges and how we can change the situation with steps we have to do. And of course, thank you for the invitation of the member of your parliament, because by my opinion, we need political support to solve the situation on all levels. And by my opinion, this is a great idea to organize such kind of event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you as well. Okay, then I would like to thank all of you, Daniil, Vladimir, Olga, Alexia, and else which already left. And I also would like to thank Elena, the interpreter, who did a wonderful job again. I know her already some years, so thank you very much, everybody. We will keep in touch with all of you, and we will keep on promoting the Object War campaign. So thank you very much, and have a nice
And then maybe
evening.
somebody, just quickly, how can people like Daniel be given practical support? Yeah, maybe just maybe to get in touch or so, I don't know, with among each other.
Yes. Maybe I will try to get you in contact, because Wolfgang is in Germany, I guess, or not. So that might be helpful. But I think that the member of EPCO Connection is also active in assisting Daniel and Vladimir. So there is already some support. But anyway, I have all your email addresses, so I can bring you in contact with each other.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, and I will also send the recording as the moment we started it. Thank you very much, and I will close down the event. So have a nice evening, and hope to see you soon again on one other occasion. All the best.
Bye.
Thank you very much, all of you. It was a wonderful webinar. I think I'm the only person from the UK.
Thank you, Ray. It's good to see you.
And solidarity from the United States.
Yes.
Oh.
Wow, we go really global. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.